Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, you're doing a good Frozen there. That was a good impression. The NFL Week 11 is upon us. Before we get into the card, clear the air a little bit here. I had a little bit of a baby meltdown on Sunday, which I'm allowed to because this is our podcast. And
do you think it was a meltdown, Drew? It wasn't a meltdown. The Chiefs Bills game was a meltdown. That was just good. This was just you being upset. Right. That was if that
blew
was
off
a 10,
some steam. Had to blow off
if that
some
was
steam.
a 10 last weekend it was fun.
Okay. Either way, I have no one to blame but myself, because I went into last week fired away. I didn't even know who the fucking quarterbacks were going to be in like half the games. So shame on me for being cavalier, particularly this time of the season where it is ever so hard to grind an edge. I never lose respect and sight of how very, very difficult it is to handicap this league. And particularly as you get past the point where we know what fair is fair for all of these teams. And it becomes a much more challenging, job to sort of, work out who's gonna, peak, who's peaking, who's waning, who's waxing, who's waning, who's on the come up, who's on the decline, who's overrated, when is it time to sell a team, when is it time to buy. And I missed the pivot point on basically everything last week because it was a big pivot week. Halfway through the season, of course, like some teams with their backs against the wall are gonna freaking be like, okay, here we go. We got to make some hay this half. We're gonna figure out a way. And they kind of put their noses down and got it done. So credit to them. I'm looking kind of in the direction of the likes of the Bucks and the Packers, I guess. Not so much in the direction of the Rams, who can stick a fork in it. But ultimately, it was a big pivot week. And I'm ready to kind of, I've got a light card this week. I've spent almost most of my time handicapping this week. I've actually been coming up with numbers for the World Cup. So that kind of tells you where my head is at. If you want to get right into it, then Thursday Night Football is kind of interesting. Titans games have been more fun than you would expect. At least they've been more competitive. There's more wrinkles. It's a weird team. And they have a strength, which is their rushing attack. Their scheme is good. Their running back is all pro. And he's going up against a Green Bay team that can be run on. So on paper, this looks like a decent opportunity for the Titans to put a little pressure on the Packers. Packers with a newfound passing attack and on the back of Christian Watson. Is that reliable?
So it looked, the way he looked, it does look repeatable. It wasn't fluky. The crisp routes, separation. Rodgers looked engaged in the second half. That's the most important part. I mean, how many times have we talked about Rodgers? Just like, man, he doesn't look like he gives a shit at all. He said the right things. He looks engaged, and yeah, the Watson stuff feels sort of repeatable. And this is a defense who's been seriously banged up in the back end. The secondary it's still carrying injuries. And right now the news has been not great so far for the injury reports for the secondary pieces here. I don't know. It's a secondary that's been able to kind of stymie some top offenses. If you go back and look at what they did with Kansas City a couple weeks ago, I'm not expecting Green Bay to just blow them off the field, but if we get what we got in the second half last week, it's still a very smart quarterback who can play well out of structure. And if he has some receivers he trusts, it just seems to work. I'm not saying Green Bay is going to turn things around and relax and, hey, let's run the table and this is a playoff team, but I expect a better effort than we've seen. And it is a home game. That said, it's a shitty run defense for Green Bay. Mm-hmm. And it was I don't want to say it was a bad week for Derrick Henry because they got to win. It's never a bad week when you got to win. But you essentially went from playing a top one defense to getting to go play Green Bay. And Green Bay isn't a bottom 5 defense, but as far as the run game goes, they're getting close. They're definitely bottom 10 for rush defenses right now for me. So I played an over, and I hate playing an over on a short week.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
surely.
And maybe something that's helping me out is the fact that I trust both of these coaches that know each other pretty well. And I don't know if I want to give a ton of credit to LaFleur, granted, because of this season, and maybe, the last few seasons were just, hey, I have Rodgers and Devonta. I guess we're going to win 12 games. That's how life goes. But I'll give him some credit, and I think Vrabel's a very good coach. He's fought through. They've had not just like, how every team has, even the best teams have these weaknesses. He's had a massive cluster injury at secondary, like 3 out of the last 4 years. They had basically no wide receivers this whole year. He's had to work with, I don't know if Tannehill's ever been classified as like a top quarterback. Like what Vrabel's done with this team for like the last 5 years, and they've had some 1 seeds, they've had playoff wins, they've had some runs. Like, he's an overachiever. Like, Vrabel should get more love, I think. So I do respect both of these coaches. And also, it's not, the game plan shouldn't be complicated. You have Aaron Rodgers, you have Tractor Cito, go do what you can. And yeah, it should just be, the game plan is the game plan we've been running out for the last 10 weeks, guys. So
yeah.
Short week scares me a little, but I am going to play this. I am and did play this over 41.
Okay.
And it's neutral pace, not great. I'm gonna need a couple of rippers from Derrick Henry. I expect it to be a lot better than last week.
Yeah. Low total though, and like you said, Tennessee matches up well in terms of getting something going on the ground. Green Bay going up against a Tennessee secondary that's missing some pieces, and in general a front line that doesn't have a lot going on right now because of some missing pieces and or just some injuries. Even though at full strength, God, are they good defensively? Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. I'm suspending myself from betting totals just because of how completely wrong I was last week. So I didn't bet any this week. I just bet 3 sides, but I will support you in that. And if we have a lower scoring first half, I will I'll give you the confidence you need at halftime to double down.
I do love a good double down. It's been a while for that. Yeah, I as people see this, I can't figure out why I look like freaking like I just registered for the 2024 presidential election. I am orange as fuck. I think it's
my sweatshirt is reflecting on your face.
I don't know. I guess I'm just going to be super tan today. But regardless, I don't have a ton else to say on that. A few injuries to watch, but like I said, the injury report for me at least was heartening as far as some of the defensive pieces. The end coverage piece. It doesn't look good for some of the defensive pieces that were kind of question marks for Tennessee. The more injuries to the Tennessee defense, the better.
Yeah, and really, this becomes a good bet, a really good bet if Simmons misses. Jeffrey Simmons questionable right now with an ankle. He hasn't been the same since that injury. Devondre Campbell out for the Packers matters. He's kind of their key tackling piece, so that run defense is going to be even softer. They just put Caleb Farley on IR. Yeah, Farley on IR. Hooker's out.
So look at this, Drew. When I bring my arms up like this, more white in the frame. I'm white.
It's normal. It's the blue. Whoa, man. Freaking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory bullshit turning orange.
Violet.
Oompa Loompa.
Turn it violet.
You're full on Oompa Loompa color right now. All right. Well, I like that look. Let's keep moving though to Sunday's games.
We need to come up with like an Oompa Loompa song for every bad bet we make next week. Jim Tan Laundry. What do you get when you bet on the Pack?
You're cheesy orange, cheesy yellow. You're a very Wisconsin cheddar. It is a very Wisconsin cheddar. You're right. First game in the rotation for Sunday in the early slot, we have a 13-point spread. Have we not learned anything? Are there two teams that are 13 points apart right now in the NFL? Tough to say.
I'm
Panthers,
tempted to just not even like handicap this game and say I'm putting a half stake on the Panthers.
Just because it's been so chaotic. PJ Walker has been replaced by Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield not in the chat tonight because he is apparently preparing for his start to try to revitalize his career, much like Matt Ryan did last week. Although that challenge against the Baltimore team, much tougher ask than going up against the Raiders.
Honestly, and that's probably what's kept me from just blindly betting into this. This is too many points, and also they're not the worst team in the league.
No,
they're probably the third worst in my power rankings. I'm guessing I have Texans and Raiders are right there.
Yeah. No pushback for me.
So let's say all things being equal, they're one of the worst teams in the league. I think
the Rams are in the conversation among
the Rams, especially without Stafford, and we'll get to
no Stafford, no Stafford, and no Cup.
And the thing here too is like, at first I said, well, I don't really want to bet on Baker Mayfield, but it's the Baker Mayfield cycle where the media's doubted me, and he has like that one good game, and then he gets cocky, and then he throws like 6 interceptions the next week. And then he gets hurt, and then he gets benched. So,
yeah, I'm talking myself into playing the Panthers. God damn it! Maybe I'll just play them in contests. So here's the idea.
I think it's just gonna be like a half stake at plus 13 because I have to.
So here's the thing: Baker is familiar with the Ravens defense.
Yes,
they're familiar. Panthers defense quietly good. So Panthers defense can certainly wipe. Wide receiver one off the map. No Mark Andrews likely. They come off bye. He's not practicing, so that makes me think Mark Andrews isn't going. This should be a 10-point game. I'm gonna play Ravens. Fuck, man. I mean, I play Panthers. Panthers plus 13. I'm gonna play this. God damn.
Yeah,
I was gonna try to lighten it up this week, but here we are.
I've been circling around this for like 2 days now, and I'm like, I was just secretly hoping to wake up one day and the market took a shitload, and it's down to like 10.5. And I'm like,
well, now I can't play.
I just stay away from it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it does. This is like Scrubs color, isn't it?
Something about your green screen setting has got you bad. All right, let's.
No, I agree with that.
Let's play a little Panthers. Okay. Baker Mayfield. Look to you. I get to cheer for Baker Mayfield on Sunday. Gonna be a great day. Cleveland.
So pissy. I almost want the Ravens to win by 40 now.
Yeah, that'll be funny.
You're going to say horrible things about Baker Mayfield.
He'll have earned it, so that'll be worthy. Cleveland at Buffalo. Nothing interesting to say about this game, so we can just move right along. Browns bounce back against the Bills. Bills bounce back against the Browns. What do we expect here, Andy?
I don't understand what the bleep is going on with this weather report. You talk to one person, Snowmageddon, and so there's 2 things that can happen with a big snowfall. It can snow. You can get 5 feet of snow on Saturday. They will absolutely, if it's not snowing on Sunday, there will not be a flake on that field. They will clear it. They have the ability to clear all that snow out of there. They'll push it right off that field.
There may be 6 feet in the stands, which will make it interesting.
It'll
be a fun scene.
But if it's not snowing during the game, it's not going to matter how much snow we got on Saturday. But if it is this lake effect, massive blizzard during the game on Sunday, we get like we had with how long ago this was? Vinatieri was the kicker for Indianapolis. Like that was that long ago. We had that awesome snow game, which was awesome.
The Shady McCoy game.
I feel the Shady McCoy game, absolutely. I feel like between the Buffalo Bulls and the Buffalo Bills, at least one of those games is going to get me an awesome snow game. But all the time, these big storms like this, it's just like when you track a hurricane, where like, everyone's like, oh, it's going to snow 3 feet. We've done this with hurricanes where it's like, oh, it's going to make landfall, and this college football game is going to be, moved or whatever. These weather patterns, they move all the time. It's Wednesday, guys. Chill out. But don't bet this.
Wilkman. Brissett
Holy
was the
Holy
Colts in that game.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Jacoby Brissett is the bringer of snow.
Don't send Jacoby Brissett to Buffalo. Oh my God. That is cool. Good freaking call. Wilkman.
That is a hell of a callback, Wilkman.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've seen this total dropping, and I am sitting here waiting to smash the button on this over. Because the Bills could play anybody. There's not a game where the Bills should be in it. The Bills should not be in any games that are totaled under 45.
Yeah.
So if it is not super windy,
as evidenced by last week,
if we don't have 300 feet of snow on the ground, like I'm ready to hammer this over. I'm going to wait until I can actually get some confirmation that it's not going to be. And I don't. What Sam Lipscomb in the chat is here. What's the bottom for this total?
I think it's 40.
I think I don't think it gets much lower than that. I'd agree with like 40 and a half, somewhere like that.
Patrick brings a great point. This is great, just great contributions from the chat today. There are certain books where you can play an over if you are trying to be the resistance. And if they move it into a dome, you are not impacted. It would be funny also if Buffalo played at Detroit 2 weeks in a row. Buffalo if they move it to Detroit and Buffalo plays at Detroit and then turns around Thanksgiving Day and plays at Detroit, that would be a first where you have a team on the road at the same venue for twice in 4 days or whatever. But that's another weird just random
that's
nugget.
the thing. Syracuse plays in Boston this weekend, so the Carrier Dome is wide open.
They could do it too. Well, it must be about safety of fans getting to the game.
I think they tend to just use pro stadiums. Like when the Metrodome collapsed with the snow, they moved that to Detroit, I believe. Although when the Vikings were moving and they didn't have the US Bank Stadium quite done yet, they did play at the Gopher Stadium for like a year or maybe a year and a half there. So I don't know. I would just move it to the Carrier Dome. Like that's a great arena.
Sure.
I said that Syracuse is playing football on the road, but I forgot college basketball is going as well. So that's also a basketball. I'd have to check on that too. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Either way, if you are in upstate New York, we love you. Be safe. Don't drive if you don't have to. It's going to be wild.
And Drew is, Drew's a Southern Cali chill vibes, trip over your surfboard kind of dude, but he has lived in the DMV. He's lived in the Boston area.
That's right.
He understands snow, and we here in Minnesota had our first real snowfall, and it is anyone who lives in the North remembers. The North remembers, guys. Nobody remembers how to drive
on that first day.
Hey, guess what? Leave a little earlier and your braking distance just doubled. Like people sliding through intersections like they haven't lived here for all their life. It's something.
Yeah. I get why the market, the side and total here are correlated. People think there's fewer points going to be scored overall, so the Bills shouldn't be as big a favorite. Browns are, they have a pretty solid running attack, and that presumably would be fine even if there are 20-mile-an-hour winds and snow is falling. But the footing still a huge question mark. I'm not interested in really getting involved with this game. I just hope the Bills bounce back in a way that, and I would love to just watch this game for enjoyment's sake. As we were talking to our producer Dan, like it would be just fun to watch a Bills game and not be like sweating it, not freaking out, and just be like, oh, this is great, guys running around in the snow, fun. So pass for me, but I like anyone who's going to be an opportunist and trying to be the resistance there on that total. Moving on to another one that I stared long and hard at and ultimately passed. God, I looked at this one for so fucking long. It's moved. Eagles are at the Colts. Eagles have an Achilles heel that we talked about on the halftime show with the Washington Commanders. Commanders, by the way, fucking owe you guys. That was incredible. What a second half money line cover. Thank you, Commanders.
So, obviously,
I'm going to put some respect on that name.
I put more on the plus 7.5, but finally, Drew just not shutting up about it convinced me, like, all right, if we've talked about it this much, like, and the fact that somebody was hammering it, they had a bad day. How much do you think you have to bet on a second half money line that you can bet to win 10,000 for it to blink that hard, where it goes from minus 450 to minus 560. Do you think somebody was playing the full 45,000 to win 10,000, playing multiple clicks?
I can't imagine.
20K.
It doesn't move for any other reason.
Yeah, so
they don't move that market on opinion. They only move that market on volume, I think.
Somebody was clicking hard on Eagles money line. RIP. I feel bad because they deserve better.
Yeah, body bag.
Yeah, when they saw that pass being thrown backwards.
Oh God!
I mean,
even when the kneel down didn't take it to zeros, you're like, oh shit. No. Oh shit! Don't fair catch this punt. Just try to run it. Oh shit! He fair caught it.
My cackling. Yeah. My cackling had to have woken up some children in the house. I was laughing so hard when he ran that in because I knew what the score was. I knew all right, well, the 7.5 is a lock, but we lost the money line. That sucks. But my God, I was dying. I was dying.
Incredible.
I've never been on the right side of one of those.
No, never, not ever. Always on the wrong side. Anyway, the Eagles now have to bounce back at the Colts. And I was kind of floating this idea with some of our friends, and I want your take now too. I am cautiously pessimistic that the top has come and gone for the Eagles. And that is just to say that this team still very much in control of their own destiny. If they fix their woes, if they get healthy, which is obviously a problem this week. They're missing some key pieces. If they get right, this is still a team that controls their destiny for the 1 seed. And a 1 seed.
What's crazy?
Go ahead.
The New York Giants control their own destiny for the 1 seed as well.
Yeah, it's
the New York Giants, whose win total had to be I could go check 6.5, maybe a 7.
5.5, bet up to 6. I feel like.
Yeah, I was going to say
it was low. It was a bottom 2. I think.
I thought there was some steam coming up in the market over the summer. I got up to 6.5.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were one of the projected to be the bottom 5-6 teams, so it got up to 7. Says half here. The fact that they are now because they play the Eagles twice. They have 100%. If they win out, they are the 1 seed, which is just fucking buck wild, guys. I love those coaches. They deserve all the praise in the world. But yeah, the Eagles too. Back to your original point. We were lamenting the fact that we didn't get plus 10.5 on the Washington Commandos there.
Yeah.
Pre-game, we said man, this was the peak. This was the sell spot for the Eagles, but I don't know.
Well, there was concern that the setting was going to be a little bit rough for old Taylor Heineke on the road at the Link in a primetime game. Not a great vibe in general, but he played great. The Eagles, and honestly, it is. If you are holding on to your Eagles, your position on that team with 2 hands, and you're no, that was a fluky game. It took 4 fumbles. It took 3 fumbles and a pick and a missed face mask, a bullshit roughing the passer for them to beat us. This is still a really good team. You're correct. That was a fluky loss. That is 100% true. The problem is sometimes fluky losses don't help you. A fluky loss is a loss, right? There's no sitting down
when they add them up at the end of the year, they will still count those as
they will count those as losses. And even worse, it doesn't really force you to fix things, right? You don't do any self-reflection after a game like that, or nobody gets fingers pointed at. It's literally it was all those were all externalities. Yeah.
As a coach, you can't come in and say hey guys, we just got hosed by variance. We're a great team. Let's not fix it. So, but everybody is thinking it. In the facility, they're all right. We got fucked by this face mask fumble. We had a bad luck we beat their ass over the top on a long play that turned into a turnover. We should have won this game. They're all thinking it. And you're right. It turns into what do we really have to fix? Let's just not fumble.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like let's go back to not fumbling. That was working for us. But in reality, they need to grow. Like a team that succeeds in the NFL that is in the archetype of a Eagles has to have an arc. You got to have an arc. You got to be better in week 17 than you were week 1 or week 2. Like you can't have had your best performances be at the beginning of the season and expect to get anything positive going in the playoffs. It doesn't work like that. It's countless examples. Wire to wire just isn't a thing for teams like that. You got to improve as the season goes on, and specifically they have to improve on the run defense. And I bring that up because they are about to face a schedule of rushing attacks that not only do these teams all want Plan A to be run, but they are kind of good at it. And the Eagles, if they don't fix this, are going to be in a lot of these kind of coin flippy type of games that are decided at the end by variance. And if they lose a couple of those and they're all of a sudden are not at the top of even the NFC East, it is going to feel like it's going to feel bad, right? Like, if this is an 8-3 team and you're looking up at the Giants and the Cowboys and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, how did this happen? We were 8-0. We were in our, we were cruise control. Like it's the vibe is the energy is not going to be great. Now they could bounce back from that. They could fix things. They could still get the 1 seed. I'm not saying that this is an over. I'm just saying the two things that happened on Monday, number one, the way that they lost. And then number two, some of the injuries they sustained, I think are, their potential, kind of problems that don't get fixed in a quick, expedient way. And this coaching staff is going to be tested. Defensive coordinator especially. Not seen enough out of that guy. He needs to kind of specifically look at what he has in terms of the pieces he's working with and figure out how not to be a team that just gets embarrassed on the ground week in, week out. Because their EPA per play, their success rate on the ground, like you can point to some certain statistics and you don't look that bad. But when you look bad in the ones that matter, that's a problem. And if you're not trying to directly acknowledge that, directly fix that, then, and you face teams like with, Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, like you're in trouble. So I think that's kind of my temperature on this Eagles team. I kind of want to sell still until they show and prove it that they got it fixed. I didn't bet the Colts this week because fuck those guys. I still there was a lot of weirdness and uncertainty heading into that Raiders game, and Jeff Saturday proved that he could make the correct decision and get, kind of be a bigger force in terms of this will get us a win more so than the owner. That's a good thing, I think, in the medium and long term for the Colts as an organization. If you have a figure that Irsay will just sit down and listen to instead of tell them what to do, then good. But still, I don't entirely believe that this offensive line is totally fixed and that they're just going to push around the Eagles D line and get all those same wins 1v1. I don't know that Matt Ryan has another one of those performances in him. So
no, I mean, I just talked about we're at a point where I believe the Raiders might be worse than the, Carolina Panthers right now. Because they have more talent on their roster. They likely have a better quarterback. They have a better wide receiver one. They have a better, I don't know, Burns is up there, but they just, the coaching, the game plan, and the execution are so poor that the Raiders are legitimately a bottom 2 team right now. And the Eagles certainly are not. This is a much bigger test, even though it is at home. And yeah, I don't know if you're off that dead cat bounce that they got with the new coach. Somebody in the chat says they're all out of fired coach juice. It's just, that you do run out. So.
That's funny. I mean, maybe, but at the same time, the Colts are also getting healthy. Like if Jonathan Taylor is 100% and the offensive line is blocking well, then they're going to gain ground. They're going to be successful against this Eagles defense. If as currently constituted, as currently rostered, Eagles without Dallas Goedert is a problem. Eagles with an AJ Brown that's banged up is a problem. Eagles just in general with just not showing us much growth in the last handful of weeks. A little bit of stagnation. Don't want to turn into a malingering problem. So Colts are live, but I'd passed. This is just kind of continue to monitor the situation. If the Eagles don't get this fixed, there are plenty of opportunities to bet against them in the coming weeks. I can tell you that just looking at their schedule. And this is so funny because when we broke down the Eagles preseason, it was a lot of, God, they faced no quarterbacks, like none, no quarterbacks. This team is, how did they get this lucky? And they have faced none so far. and they don't face any coming up really. But if they face a gauntlet of good running backs and they can't get off the field, then that's a very different story. If they're losing time of possession 40-20 every week, that's a different story. So, yeah.
Maxim bet. I think they might grade that.
R.I.P. Maxim bet. R.I.P.
Yeah, weird that Fubu and Maxim
hardly knew ye. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I know we have a couple listeners from Maryland. Just worth mentioning. Congrats.
Oh yeah.
Not a super firm date, but sports betting should go legal next week, and you guys have 10 operators right off the bat. It looks like so. Also, if you
it's big for our friends in DC and Virginia too, really.
Yeah, I don't know, and I have a question to anybody who lives in Baltimore, and if you're listening to this podcast later on, you're not in the live chat, by all means, DM me or hit me on Twitter or whatever. Answer in the YouTube. We were talking about we'll do some promotions and stuff around these at BetSperts. And I'm like, man, it sucks. Like Baltimore, they have the Ravens, we have the University of Maryland. We don't really have like a lot of pro teams to do promos around. I'm like, do most people in Baltimore or Maryland in general, do they cheer for like the Wizards and Capitals? Is that a thing? Like if you're a hockey fan and you lived in Maryland, and this is for Drew, I guess
bandwagon, classic bandwagon fans there. If they're good, 100%.
So like I guess if the Wizards and Caps are having a good season, then they have a big fan base. I just didn't understand kind of the dynamic about that. Like obviously,
University of Maryland gets a lot of support. Fans show up and throw batteries at the opposing team's families.
Coppin State,
Maryland
Delaware,
basketball, of course. Maryland football gets no support.
Delaware Eastern Shore. Yeah, I think it maybe depends what part of Maryland. For a small state, it is kind of spread out and mixed between other metropolitan areas.
Yeah,
but
when the team's winning, they want a successful professional franchise to cheer for. They are very, very, very supportive when things are going well, and they don't really have a lot of options in terms of holding the bad owners accountable. So they tend to, just not give them their money when they suck, which is the right thing to do if you're a fan base and you don't have leverage.
Obviously, they don't cheer for the Washington team in professional football because they have Baltimore. As to put a bow on this, I'm not betting this game. I think this number's fine.
Well, technically, Raljon is in Maryland. I don't know if you knew that.
That is the funniest part about this is Washington, because it's one big mess down there between the District of Columbia, Virginia, Maryland, all that. But yeah, Washington, the game is not in Washington. This will be in Houston. The Houston Texans will play host to the 5-5 Commanders. And this is another spot where I'm fine selling a little on the Commanders here.
Okay.
I don't like when bad teams
win.
And I do consider the Commanders a bad team still.
Mm-hmm.
Are laying points on the road. And it's over where I think it should be. If this were 2.5, I'd say, hey, that's a good number. That's fine. Like it's the Texans. They've been bad. But the Texans have shown some life in the run game, and now they have a couple receivers that have been, forced to play. And I took some Texans plus 3.5, just kind of a numbers grab. I don't know that this stays at 3.5 through the rest of the week. I think this might end up down at 3, and maybe I'm have a bad read on this market. I'm wrong, but I can't justify the Commanders being a 3.5 point favorite over basically anyone right now on the road, especially coming off of a big win and a short week.
I think that the Commanders' offense looked a lot better against the Eagles than they actually are. So in general, this is going to be a tight game. I don't think Commanders go and run away. Taylor Heineke deserves credit. Yes. He performed well. He's done well taking over, although we did kind of know he was going to throw one pick. You just want to make sure it's not a bad one. It ended up being an arm punt more than a take points off the board pick, which was good, or put points on the board for the team pick, which is good. But he's a loose cannon. Texans wouldn't shock the world if they got a win here. But boy, oh boy, is that offense fucked. Nothing about what they're doing as far as building a future there offensively makes sense to me. Damian Pierce is a nice player, I guess. Davis Mills is not the guy. Hasn't gotten any support from the supporting cast really. So not going to go to war with this one, but so I can't talk you into Commanders 60-1 to win the NFC East.
Is that all?
That's all. That's all they're offering. Yeah, that's all they're offering.
That's embarrassing at this point. And yes, it was another case too. So these are two teams who suffered at the hands of variance, and suffered is the wrong word. They were dealt certain hands of variance, because we just talked about, when we talked about the Eagles just previously, it's the same thing with Washington. They were the beneficiary of some really timely fumbles, and it worked out for them. They ended up getting the win. Obviously the scoreboard doesn't truly reflect the score, because the last score being a whoopsie daisy kind of thing. So, I mean, if you run that second half back a bunch of times, I think the Eagles winning by 1 happens a lot of times.
Yes.
The Washington does not win that game.
Yeah.
The offense wasn't horrid, but they, like you said, they got some breaks. And, sometimes these breaks, it's like, well, you did a good job punching the ball out. Yeah, that's something you did. It wasn't just straight up variance. You still have to recover it. And on the other hand, the Texans, some of it was just, all right, you did this to yourself. It's not all variance. But the fact that some of those turnovers were, in spots where things could have turned out a little better, like they were moving the ball okay at certain times. We saw some decent play. Like Davis Mills had 300 yards against this New York Giants defense. We saw a little bit out of this receiving core. And it wasn't just, I guess do you know who the leading receiver for the Texans was? 319 yards. You have to have somebody with quite a few yards.
Was it not Nico Collins?
It was not Nico Collins, nor was it Brandon Cooks. In fact, there were 2 receivers that had more yardage than Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks.
Really?
Yeah.
The one I can't name any other
the one I don't even know. Like Jordan Atkins, I know.
Yeah.
Chris Moore.
Wow.
Cincinnati product from a few years ago. I'm not super familiar with his work. I don't know. I don't own the Chris Moore box set, but the fact that they got production out of essentially 4 different receivers had Brandon Cooks was the least productive. The fact that you got more production out of 3 other guys, and Brandon Cooks is coming back into the game, presumably healthy. I know. Oops, I'm pulling to my camera cord here. I did that with my feet. So I think the combination.
We're all impressed.
Yeah, Pierce is very good. Pierce is a Rookie of the Year candidate. Absolutely deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as Walker. And if they're going to get any production from this receiving core, it's not a horrible offense, and they're at home, so I'm fine taking this team in a few spots as an underdog, because I think they have a squirrely enough offense to put up the points with shitty teams.
Okay,
and that's where I'm at.
I'm gonna keep keep an eye on that market. Your case is fair. KZ Brown's case is even more important, though. How was this not the shower fart game of the week? Funny backstory about shower fart game of the week. This started with Bears-Texans, I believe, and maybe week 3, and when Andy coined the shower fart game of the week, we had an inside joke. I was like, we should just make it the Bears game every week and not say anything and just pretend like that was it. The Bears games are must watch. They are must watch. That is the state of the NFL right now. I am not missing a Bears game. And week 3, that was the joke, was good luck watching this team. All right, let's keep moving to the Jets, New England Patriots. High leverage game all of a sudden. I had a conversation this morning talking about the win probabilities in the AFC East, and I looked at my numbers, and I'm off market. I do not think the Bills are even still currently correctly rated. They are too over, too much likelihood built into the current number for the Bills to win the NFC East because all three other teams are live. Now, after this game, that may not be the case. Currently, the most wins in the AFC East is your New York Jets. They are 2-1. Patriots undefeated in the they lost to the Miami Dolphins. They're 1-1.
Yeah.
But this is still relatively wide open in terms of who wins this division. Buffalo Bills are last, right? 0-2. They haven't beaten anyone. They still have 2 games against the Patriots, but this is going to be a huge swing in terms of any kind of hope to win what is all of a sudden a wide open AFC East. And I think given the way that the Patriots won last time without even really playing a very good game, this is Patriots or pass. I elected to pass because everybody and their mother and every piece of data you can glean from the entire World Wide Web tells you that Mac Jones sinks this year, and that there may not be a buy low point on him because within this offensive system, it's just not working. New England is down to -3, so there's been some appetite here for the Jets in the hook. Total is down to 38. Ooh, yikes, that's low. Second time these two teams have played, prepared game plans to face each other in a matter of just 3 weeks. And again, both teams rested. If I had to make a play again on this one, I guess I'm taking the over. Maybe I'm interested in a Patriots team total over. Oh God, I can't actually tuck myself into anything in this game. So pass for me. What are you thinking?
Yeah, there has been a little bit of an appetite for the Jets at 3.5, which I guess makes sense. A tight divisional game, and the Patriots haven't been, garnering a lot of confidence from people. Mac Jones is not good, but at the same time, no matter what you do, you're betting on a bad quarterback here. And the Jets, it hasn't been the same without Breece Hall, although they do have they probably have the better receiving core at this point. They have a couple of nice pieces on defense. I get the love, but yeah, I'm on market here. It feels like this is just this game ends up really close to this total. Like if this ends up like 19-16, it's like, well, yep, that makes sense. Or 2017, that's every game ends 20-17 now. That's just a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very on market here, and I have no appetite to bet Mac Jones as a favorite in a divisional game right now.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. It is at New England. Zach Wilson has stunk. This is really just 2 very disappointing sophomore seasons here from these 2 quarterbacks. More weapons around the Jets, more rookies playing better, I guess, but the Patriots have the coaching advantage. They have the more experienced defenders, vets. So easy pass.
Kind of lost in the sauce, if you will, which is funny because he plays for the Jets. Is Dable getting all the love in New York, but I think Saleh is a very good coach. What he was able to do with a pretty shitty roster, truthfully. And yes, they got a lot out of some rookies right away. Kudos to him too. He's getting absolutely no mention in Coach of the Year because it's a really stacked field. How do you not? You can't discount Sirianni, Kevin O'Connell, Dable, even, to a certain point, the Pete Carroll love that was, a train for a couple weeks. And Saleh's like 5th or 6th choice. And it's not unfair.
No. Yeah. I don't think it lasts.
No, and again, it is the weird spot where New England does the thing where they take their bye and then play a team off the bye. Didn't work out for them last year. They lost to Colts, but
it's been a while since it really did work out for them, from what I remember. I feel like off the bye, whatever reasoning they have for doing this has not really worked. But last year they were they were high on their own success heading into the bye with just a miraculous weird ass win over the Bills. Whereas this year, I don't think anyone feels really great about the direction the team is headed in, even though they are coming off of a win and a cover. They lost to the Broncos the year before off the bye. They lost to they beat the Eagles the year before that. So whatever. Nothing, no signal there. The Detroit Lions up against the New York Giants. A lot of people thought Lions would be the 7-2 team in this matchup heading against the 3-6 Giants, but no. The roar has not been restored yet, although they're building a little bit of momentum. 2 wins here now of late. The Giants, on the other hand, just find a way to win. Doesn't matter how bad they're playing. Doesn't matter the quality of their opponent. These guys just get it done outside of the one, very hard-fought loss to the Seattle Seahawks, and then, of course, the Monday night loss to Cooper Rush, which is explainable because Dallas is a truck. Giants 3-point favorites here have not been any support in the market for this Giants team, despite their success this season. Their market ranking has them 24th right now as a home 3-point favorite to the 29th ranked Lions. Wow. Will there ever be respect for the Giants? Do they deserve it, Andy?
They do deserve some respect. I mean, I would still love to see them do something at quarterback because, man, they're starting to put some pieces together. There's, you've got a healthy wide receiver 1 now. I'm not sure he's a wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams, but he's your wide receiver 1 now. You have a definite stud at running back, and they're willing to use him. And it doesn't feel like hey, we have to give Saquon the ball because the GM says so because he has to justify the pick. Now it feels like, hey, we're using him in good situations, in good run schemes with good run blocking against the defensive matchups where it works. And obviously last week was a big game for him. I think he's probably in for another big game. This is a bad defense. Like, that's where I wonder why they're not getting respect in the market here. They're not, they're probably not as good as their record indicates, but man, the Lions probably aren't either. The Lions have been beat up. They traded away their stud tight end. They've really been hurt, especially, on defense. They've had basically every good offensive player has been beat up at some point during this year. They fought through injuries, and they're just not all that good outside of their offensive line. And, Rod, Swift are great, but it's not a complete team basically anywhere outside of a really solid, like we said, offensive line. So I'm curious why they're not getting a little respect here, but at the same time, I haven't been high on the Giants at all. And if you have any trust in the market at all, this is not like some one-off, like, man, why are the Giants so low this week? The Giants this is where they've been at the market all year long. So I'm fine with this number. I'm actually maybe even a little higher on them than the market, which is odd for me. I've been kind of low on the Giants, but it feels like Giants are pass. And I mean, what's the case to not bet this? They should be able to run at will. This is a Lions defense that can be. I mean, just look what Fields did to them, man.
I can only really give you reasons to bet the Giants.
Yeah, it's Giants or pass, and I feel like I have enough plays on the card this week.
There is a building momentum of kind of sentiment that the Lions are ultimately going to end up as the team that many thought they would be, which is like a 9-8 kind of 8-9, right? They have a whiff of last year's Dolphins to them. They smell like a stinky fish. That is to say, start 1-7 and then rip off 7 straight wins. And then all of a sudden you're like, how in the world is this trash team? Oh, wow. They really turned it around. And you're not really sure how. There's a little bit of that going on with the Lions. That's it. Jared Goff outdoors at the Meadowlands. No thanks. I know that the Giants have had some injuries on the defensive side of the ball, particularly in the secondary, but they patch it up. They are overcoming some of their limitations with some of their scheme, and it's Wink Martindale, and he's aggressive. And this game breaks one of two ways. The Giants pressure gets home. Jared Goff turns into an absolute turret on the field. Giants win easily, or pressure doesn't get home, and then this is going well over the total. Because there's enough talent offensively for both of these teams that these guys can get it to the high 40s. So which of those two happens, I can't tell you. I don't think they're correlated, so this was a pass.
Yeah, this is a live betting. Vanilla Vic going to run a little. I think you do see that. I think you see him have some success on the ground. I mean, if you're Dable and you saw what the Bears did, like, hey, this homie here ain't Justin Fields, but he can run a little. Like I'm calling some designed runs, and it's not like they don't every week, but I'm calling a good chunk of them. So hard pass on this one for now.
Okay. The LA Rams at the New Orleans Saints is a matchup of two teams who I think everybody who's been watching football for the last month is just like, my Lord, I want to bet against these clowns. And they're playing each other. So this is not an easy one to make sense of. Shower fart game of the week.
And honestly, one of the most surprising things is Matthew Stafford was announced in today. Like I would have bet good. You could have given me, I don't know what kind of odds that he didn't play this week. Like Kupp is out. You're 3-6. You have a busted up elbow that you've been carrying for a year and a half. You just come out of the concussion protocol. Like, what? You got your Super Bowl ring. Why are you coming to play this Saints game? I don't know. I was very surprised, and it's shown. You've seen some buyback. Saints got out to 4. This has come down a little since, and it makes sense. Stafford is, I don't know. This was his kind of identity in the Lions. Like he always plays. I always play. Doesn't matter. I'll play.
It was a surprise actually he missed last week. Without Kupp though, and behind this the offensive line had another injury. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
But they are just down to the absolute practice squad guys who got cut from other teams sort of level here. No Cooper Kupp, no thanks. This is going to be an awful one.
The fact that remember we've talked about this, and it's funny because we'll get to eventually. There's a game in Mexico this week. You remember, like, how it wasn't that long ago where it's like, man, this total's like 55. That's still an over. This Rams offense is electric. The Rams are in an indoor game where the total is sub 40. How long?
You're going back to definitely Sam Bradford era probably for that. Yeah.
Ooh, Sam Bradford, that guy got paid. So
yeah, he did.
Not a big interest here. I don't know, was Stafford in? No, still can't do it. I tried to look at this over. This Rams offense is so bad.
It's horrifically bad.
And
yes. No Kupp. Kupp is the only thing that was going good for them.
God, there's a case to bet the Saints at home here. And
well, what do you make of the decision? Dennis Allen, the only person in the universe who thinks sticking with Andy Dalton is the correct decision.
I guess the reports are still coming out that like Jameis is still injured. Okay. That's what they're saying, which I don't know. Apparently that's a thing. But I don't know. If he's not injured, oof.
Yeah.
Oof, what are we doing here? Andy Dalton has been progressively getting worse.
Yeah, I think maybe Aaron Donald puts him out of his misery in this game. I don't know. I haven't seen or heard from Aaron Donald in a while. Let's keep moving to Chicago, Atlanta. Again, would have thought this was a candidate for shower fart game of the week, but no. One of the more compelling games in the afternoon slate. Not the most, but compelling. Didn't play it. Wanted Bears. But the Bears don't exactly match up perfectly against the Falcons' weaknesses, so I passed. Falcons get a little bit of extra rest after coming off Thursday Night Football. Bears look like they're doing kind of the absolute dream scenario if you're a Bears fan. Like this is like a wet dream if you're a Bears fan. They are showing you competence at the quarterback position, entertaining football, but losing games. Yeah. So that their draft capital is getting that much more likely to yield them a difference maker in the draft next year. And I don't expect that there is a kind of a Dolphins to a Hurts Eagles arc here where they invest all of their resources to bring in free agents to put around them and they try to make a run next year. But it's clear that Hurts is a good guy that you want to kind of have be the cornerstone of your franchise. And if the cupboard was not bare when they took over, no pun intended, this would look a lot like the Baltimore Ravens when Lamar Jackson had his MVP season. Like if they had any support, like this would look really, really good. And these guys would be contenders. And we would be like, who's going to win the North? Is it the Bears or the Vikings? Oh my God.
I know it really adds some extra sting to the fact that the Bears decided to not go get any wide receivers, really. Like, oh, you got N'Keal Harry, fun. Like that's not a legit move. Like the fact that they drafted Velus Jones or whatever. Like, he's a special teams player, guys. Like the fact that they are doing this now adds to the sting. That's like, man, you guys really should have added some pieces. That would have been fun. Like, what were you thinking? So, but yeah, long-term Bears are fun. And I know the Bears have been this over team, but I think it might end up here.
Yeah.
I think this is probably the spot where it ends.
Yeah. It's going to be a shorter game. A lot of running in this game. Bears are going to get run on. So, yeah. This is going to take some boom runs to get over. So,
Velus Jones didn't even dress last week. Yeah, that's fair. It is going to be Falcons ball control kind of team, slower plotting, 3 different running backs, have all these receivers they don't throw to. And the Falcons have scored like 15 points the last 2 weeks. I just don't know that there's a scenario where they suddenly pop off again. Like if you want this over, you're needing the Falcons probably to get to 24.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure they're capable of that right now. The offense is really taking some steps back, and Terrell is practicing. Like this Falcons defense might have some pieces coming back. So I know thanks to this one pretty quick. No thanks.
I like it. All right, let's keep cruising down the card. Raiders
right along
versus the Broncos. Well, we have a Raiders team that this is what was the how did I
a real quick point, the first guy in the chat today, Matthew Link.
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert out could be sneaky bad.
That's a good point.
I don't like him as much as I used to, but he is the better of the 2 backs, I think, and it takes away your ability to mix and match the run a little. So that might hurt the offense a touch.
I think my feelings about this game were summed up succinctly on Sunday's pod. These 2 teams can die a slow death, and it is a sad state of affairs with both of these franchises right now. Boy, oh boy, both really had aspirations of making a playoff run this year. We're talked about as dark horses to win the AFC West and are at 3-6 and 2-7. And the Broncos are there because their quarterback that they just gave a pile of money to and gave up a massive amount of draft capital to get is effectively ruining the franchise from inside the house. Raiders, similarly, are being torn down from the inside by the guy that they think is the long-term answer at coach. And, of course, they can't fire and move on from Josh McDaniels because Mark Davis doesn't have enough money. We all knew this.
Yeah,
and it is, oh, my God.
And this was, this was kind of our synopsis for, I'm not sure coach gets fired until after the season. And apparently it might not even happen yet for the Raiders. The Raiders might have to gut out another year with them just because they don't have the liquid capital. And honestly, Arizona might be in the same boat too. So it'd be funny if both of those guys retain their jobs.
What's funny and what's amazing is that there were some moves this offseason that have turned out to be absolute slam dunk home runs. Giants hiring Dable and the Giants GM hiring, by the way, just pivoting your franchise on the fly with that duo. Long-term success will be expected there. Similarly, Vikings, brilliant hires. I mean, brilliant. The GM and coach, just absolute smash. Bears look like they figured it out at coach and GM. Absolute smash. The Broncos and the Raiders made some decisions this offseason that are going to haunt them for years to come. I don't know that there's a fix for either of these teams in the next 3 seasons. This season and plus 2 more. Am I crazy?
To be fair, I'm not super sold on Ryan Poles. I didn't love the trade for. I didn't love what they gave up. I think he has the right long-term view. I just think he might be bad at trading, which will be fun for the Patriots if they ever get their hands on him. And yeah, we haven't talked about Kwesi much. Because Minnesota had a pretty complete roster, honestly. Some holes in the secondary, and they needed help with the pass rush. But so far, like, what moves did Minnesota make? Hawkinson turning out to be good. We haven't seen a big enough sample of that to really grade it, but so far the one true move Minnesota made was the Zadarius Smith thing. He's very good. He's been a huge boon to that pass rush. So yeah, and it is, like you said, the opposite here. We've seen Hackett is a problem. McDaniels is not getting any buy-in from this team. The Adams trade was, that moved the needle for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited about it. I'm like, oh shit, that's a big move, guy. And this team is 2-7, essentially out of the running for everything at this spot. And
yeah,
this is I played the under here just because I just keep doing this. Like, it's almost a bit. And at this point, I thought this would take some steam. And I guess the fact is, like, it's a bad Raiders defense. They think maybe the Broncos offense gets going finally, but I've not seen it. And now Judy is hurt. There's every receiver is now hurt for the Broncos. They've lost, they've had injuries at running back. Russell Wilson has been injured doing lunges in the plane. He's been ineffective. They're scoring like 13 points a goddamn game, and the defense is just elite. Like, Raiders to get shut out for the second time this month is on the board here. So I don't know. I said if this is 41 or better, I'm just going to take an under, and I did. So it's dance with who brung you and expect more ugliness from this Broncos team on both sides of the ball, and ugly in a good way from this defense. This is the biggest waste of an absolute historically elite. Like, this isn't just good. They have been, like, historically good, especially in the red zone. It's wild. This poor defense has to just be so mad at Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. You swung and you missed at coach and quarterback. Wow. All right, let's move on. Dallas and Minnesota. I think I have bets on the next 3 games. I haven't, other than betting live on the Panthers, I have 0 action to this point on the pod. Andy, what was my bet and what is my case?
I don't know. I found an off-market 47 and bet the over in this one.
Ooh, nice. I love that.
Yeah, Minnesota's offense has really been clicking. Not only just, Jefferson's been great, but the addition of Hawkinson and Thielen, everyone's kind of chipped in on the offensive side, and defense is still not good. I said nice things about the pass rush. I think the Cowboys are going to be fine against that, and the secondary is still very beatable. Like, this should be 49. So, clues why this is so low. Cowboys indoors is just a better offensive product from them. They showed what they can do for most of the game against Green Bay. I trust this Cowboys offense to get me to 24, 28.
Yeah.
Honestly, Cowboys very live to win. And this is one of those things too. And I don't know what magic happens at the end. If a referee, a ball bounces off the referee's head right into the arms of a Vikings defender at the end of this game for a game-winning interception return. But this is a nice spot for if this total were a little lower, and I didn't want the over so bad anyway. This is not a bad spot for a Minnesota teaser. I think this is a close game. But did you bet the Cowboys?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And the case is pretty straightforward here. I think I'm willing to give the Cowboys quite a pass, really, for what happened last week. I didn't love they felt like they were trying some things out on defense, trying to mix it up a little bit, trying not to stay stale, deploying Micah Parsons in some different ways to try to kind of close up some issues that they had stopping the run. I think they can go back to basics here and be as dynamic a defense against this Vikings team that still has Kirk Cousins making really bad decisions. Like, the Vikings can only do one thing well, and that is put the ball in Justin Jefferson's orbit. And I think, with the ball hawks that they have in the secondary, and with the offense for the Cowboys being on a fast track here indoors, this is going to be Cowboys putting scoreboard pressure on the Vikings, and the Vikings in comeback mode do not like it against this particular defense. We saw it in a lot of ways last year in this matchup. I thought the way that the Vikings match up offensively against this Cowboys defense, it's just that I'm not here for it. And I think Cowboys should be about 2.5 3-point favorites here. It's not a huge edge. None of my edges are huge at all. I was almost on market everywhere this week. But I think that there is a long tail to Cowboys winning this game with margin and having an emphatic bounce back. I think the Cowboys are solid.
Yeah, the only fly in the ointment there would be, obviously the fourth quarter that the Cowboys played, I guess. But the fact that Aaron Jones just kind of had his way, and you have just as good of a run scheme and just as good of a running back in Dalvin Cook, like, Minnesota will be able to get what they want on the ground. How I lose this over is the same way you lose your bet. Minnesota ends up with whether it's luck, whether it's just, a hot first half. If Minnesota with a lead feels like a second half under, so they will be able to run. They will be able to get first downs with Dalvin Cook on this a defense that hasn't been great against the run sometimes. So I worry about Minnesota with too big of a lead, and Dallas traveling again, another road game. But I'm with you. I think Dallas's offense shows safer indoors. Indoors, it's fine.
Yeah. No, that's a huge component to this.
I got a buddy that lives up in the cities, huge. And when I say the cities, I mean the Twin Cities. That's just what we call it here. Huge Cowboys fan. He lives 10 minutes from the stadium. I wonder if he's going. In that case, I kind of hope they win, because I don't think he's ever gone to a Cowboys win. Like, he's flown to Dallas for playoff games. And we all know how that's gone, guys. So for Brandon's sake, let's hope Dallas gets this win, because I don't give a shit if the Vikings are good or not. It's fun, though. If you do get a chance, though, there have been some super cuts of the Vikings radio announcer. And that guy,
love that guy.
That guy is
Paul Allen.
He is more of a Vikings fan than anyone has ever been a Vikings fan. He also, if you ever get a chance to go to the horse track up here, he does all of the horse calling. He does all the races. He's a great announcer. So this is gonna be a good game. Cowboys. My power number right now for the Cowboys is about 4.5. My power number for the Vikings is about 1.5. So I have a meaningful difference here. And the matchup, every matchup I look at favors Cowboys here. So this is one where I don't mind. I wish this were next week.
Yeah,
this would have been. They both do play. That is the only thing, is both of these teams will play on Thanksgiving Day.
It's exciting. It's very cool.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving, real quick, before we get to the last game?
I'll be on the island of Maui.
La, 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 la. Are we going to do any halftimes, or are you going to be too busy surfing? The time change is going to be kind of funny.
I was in Hawaii last year. I was in Oahu. It worked out. We'll definitely do the late ones if you're up for it, but we'll do at a minimum one. I have another idea too that I think you're going to like. Oh,
you can tell me off air, or you can tell me right now?
Halftime of the Team USA games. We can just go live and bet against Team USA at halftime every game. We only get 3 shots at it, but it'll be fun, right?
You know how long soccer halftimes are? Like, we can really stretch our legs. I am excited about that. They're legitimately they're decent matchups.
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving Day, and then we have USA. Oh my God, Harry Kane hat trick. That could be a beatdown. I know producer Dan doesn't want to hear this, but and I'm not super keen on the England squad as a whole for the World Cup, but
dude, I think we pivot full on World Cup. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Might as well. All right. Anyway, Bengals are at the Steelers. I laid the points with the Bengals.
Really?
Yeah.
I took the points with the Steelers.
Ooh. Well, what about your whole theory of? Oh yeah, your theory was a little different, I guess. Your theory of I don't like when a bad team lays points on the road. I don't like when a bad team is shorter than a touchdown to a good team, especially a week after they get a win.
That's the only problem is that the Steelers won last week, which is it feels like a dumb problem to have.
Sure,
it's legitimately like that's not a good team. That's not a good team they played. The Saints are rough right now, and yeah, a lot of people were on them. A lot of smart people were on the Steelers straight up last week. They did get the win. That's the fly in the ointment. The rub and the I almost said the rub and the tug. I don't know how we're getting back to Kraft on this, but yeah, I did take a 4.5. None of it. I'm kind of like you this week. None of mine are super strong looks, but it's just divisional game. Okay. TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick is probably out, but now there's reports that he is superhuman healing from his appendectomy and may play. I don't think that's true. I don't know if I want him to play. I'm worried that like stitches just can't heal that fast. Like he's gonna split open and like his kidney's gonna slip out or something. I'm really worried if he actually plays. So, and this is getting bet down. It is going Steelers direction in some places. This is
yeah. I laid 4 through 3.5. So ooh. Well, yeah. I should have waited for 3.5, and then we could have had a middle.
Yeah, I could have landed on 4. That would have been fun. Bet it again. If you love it so much, why don't you marry it?
I don't love it at all. I just didn't have anything else to bet this week. I think you can expect a less than impressive effort here from the Steelers, particularly going up against a rested Bengals defense, and just in general, 2 weeks to prepare for Kenny Pickett is exactly the 2 weeks that I think Lou Anarumo needed. I think even without Jamar Chase, there's still enough positives about this offense, and I think. I'm expecting and hopeful here that Cincinnati has some of the answers to the questions they couldn't answer in week 1. I think they will. TJ Watt does make a difference. Obviously, he matters. In fact, that entire D line is healthy and they're all playing pretty well. That's not great. I'm interested here in kind of mostly fading the Steelers offense. This is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like if I want this to be a win, this total has to come up underneath the total. Like this can't be some barn burner. I'm not getting that out of Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett playing from a deficit is not good for me.
Bengals get to 23. Are you covering?
I think probably half the time. Like anything past that, it starts to diminish pretty quickly. But Cincinnati has injuries still. We still are seeing injuries, secondary, offensive line, defensive line. It's a couple of banged up teams. So I took the dog.
Okay, that'll be fun.
And Patrick, I don't think the appendix weighs more than a couple ounces, but he may be quicker without that excess organ. I don't know. I didn't see John Bobbitt.
What if that's where he gets to John Bobbitt?
That is a callback.
That is a callback. They're not going to know. He also lost an organ, but that may have slowed him down. I don't think he was running especially fast after that. All right. The cherry on the top of this pod is the one game of the week that kind of matters, I think, right? I mean, there's some leverage in all these games. Obviously, Philly bouncing back, Minnesota holding off Dallas, Buffalo getting back into the driver's seat in the AFC East. But this one's big because the Chiefs win this game. They are putting massive pressure on the rest of the AFC for the 1 seed, and they effectively lock up the AFC West. Right? This win for the Chiefs is the division. Do you agree?
Not so sure about that, Chief. Remember that? I can never do that. I'm so bad at internet shit. Yes, at 7-2, seeing how the Bills have lost last week, somehow lost that game. This is, they still have the head-to-head, that the tiebreaker. So the Chiefs can't afford many slip-ups. But boy, like, how do you bet this game right now? Like, how do you bet this game currently at this moment with the uncertainty and basically like, hey, the Chargers either have there's a chance the Chargers have all of their receivers back and this offense looks good, or there's a chance that Josh Palmer is your WR1 again. Like, there's a wide breadth of how this offense could look at home where they have no home field advantage. It's going to be a sea of goddamn red. And it's been Chargers money.
Yeah, I'm part of that party.
There was, and if you got a 7, makes sense. Like,
yeah.
Even with the uncertainty of both, like, I feel like you're banking on at least one of those receivers playing.
Yes.
You're
That's
saying, all right, we're getting
1,000,000% correct. Yes.
We're getting 1. And if we get 2,
counting on Williams. If Allen is, that's gravy.
If you get 2, holy shit, 7 was a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it is a divisional game at home. I know you have basically 0 home field advantage, but still, 7's an awful lot. This Charger team has taken some lumps for some of the performances over the last month. But if they get their wide receivers back, yeah, I'm agreeing. Papa calls. I think Williams is almost as certainly playing. If Keenan Allen plays, which I would never, ever, ever count on that. Like, give me any game next year, I'd say, yeah, Keenan Allen's about 40%.
So, Andy, explain to me this then. The market has come off of 7. It's down to 5.5.
Yep.
Big old move. I agree with it. Obviously, I bet it. Total is stuck 50. The fuck?
Well, they're separate markets.
Yeah, but Chargers coming down is because it's like, oh, this offense might go score an answer. All right, they're going to be a little little punch here. Like, clearly, like, that opens this up for an over game, but nobody's betting it. You get that?
SoFi unders.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't that a thing that you were made up one time?
It was a thing that lasted an entire season for the Rams, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So 0-8 to the under over a balance of entire season is, we in the business like to call that an actionable trend, Andy. Yeah. It's not. It wasn't. But the
no, and I would agree. Like, the reasoning for the move is, hey, they're going to get some wide receivers back. Maybe the offensive line didn't look as bad as we thought it might have last week. Like, it wasn't an abject disaster. And, there's a case that this offense moves the ball. And, yeah, the total should go up. So I guess you have a point there. A bit odd that we're not seeing a little more movement in that market.
That leads me to my pitch for the secret pod play.
The Chargers team total over 21.5.
I mean,
is that what
I bet stupider things.
It would be like 22.5. I have no idea what it is. Driver's seat. You said driver's seat, and I got that song in my head. It's Sniffing the Tears. It's in Boogie Nights. You know what song I'm talking about? Driver's seat. Driver's seat.
I love that.
I'm going to watch Boogie Nights. I've said like 100 movies that I'm going to watch this week, and I'm not going to watch any of them.
I listened to the Boogie Nights rewatchables recently. It was pretty fucking great.
Turns out that wasn't actually his penis.
What? I've been lied to all of these years?
God, we went heavy into the phallus late in this one. But do you have a team total on that? I just don't have it up right now. All right, I'm pulling it up. Here we go. 21.5 over 105. I'm in. Secret pod play. Yes.
Let's do it.
Jenny was sweet.
Let's get touchdown strategies. I don't think they're winning that game with defense. It's
God, how good was Philip Seymour Hoffman in that too?
He was amazing. That was one of his better performances of all time.
Alfred Molina as crazy guy with a gun in a bathrobe.
Yeah, fuck. I gotta rewatch that. I forgot that was Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina's been in like everything.
Boogie Nights, huh? It's gonna be a Boogie Nights kind of a week. I like it. We can do that for Halloween next year. You can be Roller Girl.
Just watched all 3 Indiana Jones with my kid because I don't know what he brought something up. I'm like, oh, you'd like these movies, so we watched them all. Loves them.
Sure.
At the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he goes, he has the bag of sand.
Mm-hmm.
When he's in that temple, the guy that fucks him over, throw me
Alfred
the idol.
Molina.
Alfred Molina, very
Yes.
young Alfred Molina.
That's right.
Adios, amigo. And then he runs into a booby trap.
Oh, fantastic. I don't think I'm going to get my Wizards cover, but you know who the best team in the NBA is? The goddamn Pacers. Man, those guys are amazing. They come through for me every single time I bet them. Love the Pacers.
Patrick, I didn't make him watch Crystal Skull. I didn't want to get him taken away from child protected. That movie's horrible. I guess there is a fifth one coming out. There is one more. It better be better than that.
Hopefully it's to erase the memory of that one. Although I thought that about every one of the Star Wars that they've made since the third, and it has never, ever gotten better. So
the spin-off ones have been better. Like Rogue One was good.
Rogue One was amazing.
Although, my goodness, what's her name? Felicity Jones?
Felicity Jones, sure.
I would watch her paint.
You'd watch her in the salt mines of Bantha or whatever.
Yeah, goodness, she's just great. I think she was Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
And she's got range.
Yeah,
she got range. Stupid Wizards. That's why we don't support this team. All right, good deal, man. Good show. It's called a pod. It's hour 20.
For a week, for a week that I didn't think I'd bet
Stay
much.
safe out on the roads with the storm. Take care of your health and well-being. You got holidays coming up. Need you in tip-top shape. And can you remind people what you bet in the World Cup real quick? Those people being me, because I'm about to do this Calcutta.
So I bet some Germany, which was just more of a number play because I think if you're going to bet a European team, that's about the only one I can really trust. It's not a big number. Food Snob Frog, who's been in the chat, has been pretty. Argentina's going to be very expensive in the Calcutta. Food Snob Frog's been feeding us a few looks, some stuff that we definitely agree with. I've fallen a little more in love with Iran to get out of the group, but I played some props. I'd have to go back and look at it. What's the name of the German kid? Younger guy. We bet him to be
Jamal. I can't remember his last name.
Musalala. I don't know.
That sounds right.
Yeah. I ran to qualify. I bet a France first, Denmark second, out of that group to come through. I bet some Benzema golden ball. I bet some Vicinius Jr. golden ball, golden boot. Golden boot is actually stats. You have to score. Golden ball is just we need to give an award to somebody who is a really good soccer player. They're just going to give that to Messi. And if Argentina plays well and he plays well. So I played some Messi.
Funny? Argentina was priced at 5-1 on Chris. Yeah. And Messi for golden ball was 650 or it was something insane. Something totally ridiculous. The disconnect there is ridiculous because if Argentina wins, he has a 99% chance of being the guy that gets it.
Yeah.
Right. And even if Argentina doesn't win, he has gotten it before when they didn't win. Yeah. So that was a weird one. That was a bad one. I got a lot of that in my pocket. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
I parlayed Tony Finau with Georgia, the country, the state, not the country. Tony Finau then pulled out of the tournament, so I guess I just bet Georgia. I'm rolling back through bets now. That's Senegal and Uruguay. I talked about this earlier. Senegal and Uruguay to make the quarterfinals at 400 and plus 240 respectively. I bet a 5-team parlay of teams to not qualify, not make it out of the group stage. Saudi Arabia, Costa Rica, Qatar, Australia, and Ghana. That pays plus 120 for none of those teams to advance. And then apparently I still have some a big goddamn price on the Democrats to take the House, which I don't think is happening. Just going back through my bets here. I'll have some more. Anything I have Friday, probably on Brown Bag. Anything last minute I put in, I'll talk about. And definitely I'll have my first bet on the Sunday. It's like a Sunday night match to start the tournament.
Nice. All right, man. Well, I'm sorry we didn't get to do a full deep dive pod, but there's better people out there that know more than we would just be regurgitating stuff that we heard from other smart people. So I don't know how useful that would be because you're getting it third hand effectively at that point, and the market is already presumably reflecting directly those opinions. So have fun though, betting and watching the World Cup. You gonna bet every game? No pressure.
I have to. For months I've said I'm going to. So
okay, all right. Well, let's wrap it here. Good job. Best of luck. And we'll see you at halftime of Packers-Titans.
Yeah, I can't imagine a scenario in which Argentina wins the tournament and Messi does not win it.